phone goes at 2 in the morning, and you are already awake. That is the part nobody understands about this work. You do not get woken up. You lie there in the dark, listening to the rain move across the window, like something looking for a way in, and you wait, because you know the call is coming. It always comes. Someone somewhere spent the last 11 hours hoping it would resolve itself, and now it is 2 in the morning, and it has not. You answer on the second ring. The voice belongs to a man named Gareth Thorne, General Counsel at Ashford Rain, a private bank so quiet that most people who have money have never heard of it, which is the point. He does not say hello. He says a name, Nora Vance. He says she works in compliance, 3rd floor, 6 years. He says she has not answered her phone since 3 in the afternoon yesterday, and that when they went into her office, they found her computer wiped and her badge still in the desk drawer. Then he says the thing he has been building toward for the whole call. He says she took copies of something. You listen to the rain for a moment. Then you ask him one question, and it is not what he expects. You do not ask what she took. You ask who else knows she is gone. There is a silence on the line that lasts about 1.5 seconds, and in that 1.5 seconds, you learn more than he will tell you in the next hour. He says nobody. You put on the coat, and you go. The bank sits behind a facade of gray stone on a street where nothing has a sign. Inside, the lobby is all marble and low light, the kind of room designed to make you lower your voice without being told to. Your shoes are loud in it. A security guard buzzes you through without asking who you are, which means Thorne called ahead, which means Thorne is frightened enough to skip steps. He meets you at the elevator. He is 50-something and expensive, and he has not slept. His tie is still knotted at the throat, and that detail tells you he has not been home, that he has been sitting in this building since the afternoon, watching a problem grow. Upstairs, the boardroom, a wall of glass, the city smeared and orange behind it. On the table, a photograph. Nora Vance, 34, taken from her employee file. Dark hair pulled back, not smiling, looking directly into the camera with an expression you have seen before on people who are counting the exits in a room. Thorne talks. He talks about proprietary information and fiduciary exposure and the reputational cost of an internal matter becoming an external one. He uses the phrase managed outcome twice. He is speaking a language designed to make what he is asking for sound like paperwork. You let him finish. Then you tell him what you are hearing. You are hearing a man who wants you to find a woman before she talks to someone. And you tell him that before you take a step in this building, he is going to tell you what she found. He does not. A door opens instead. Vivian Ashford is in her 60s, silver hair cut close, and she does not sit down. She stands at the head of the table with her hands folded, and she looks at you, the way a surgeon looks at an instrument. She says she is told you are discreet. She says the firm has a client review on Tuesday morning, and that whatever happens must be finished before it. She says she does not care how. Then she is gone, and the door closes, and the room is colder than it was. Thorne exhales. You ask him what happens Tuesday. He says nothing. He says it too quickly. Her office is on the 3rd floor, at the end of a corridor with no windows. It is small and neat, and the computer is gone. Someone has been through the drawers. You can tell because the drawers are too tidy. People do not leave their own desks in order. They leave them the way they were when they stood up. But the searchers missed things, the way searchers do. They were looking for documents. You are looking for a person. There is a plant on the windowsill, and it has been watered recently. There is a cardigan on the back of the chair. There is a mug with an inch of cold coffee still in it, and there is a photograph taped inside the pencil drawer, out of sight of the door, of a woman who looks like Nora, but older, standing in front of a house. None of it is the behavior of someone who ran. It is the behavior of someone who left the building on an ordinary afternoon, expecting to come back. You stand in the middle of that little room for a long time. Outside the door, you can hear the building's ventilation and nothing else, and you think about Thorne's 2.5 of silence on the phone. Nobody else knows she is gone. Then who searched this office? On the stairwell landing between 3 and 4, you find a woman named Priya Raghavan smoking a cigarette in a building where nobody smokes. She has been crying and has decided to be angry about it instead. She works 2 desks from Nora. When you tell her you are looking for her, she laughs, one hard note, and asks whether you are the first one or the second one. That is when the temperature of this job changes. You ask her very carefully who the first one was. She says a man came Sunday evening, not Monday, Sunday. He had a visitor badge and he asked questions about Nora's schedule, and he was polite in the way that made her want to leave the room. She says she assumed he was from the firm. Everyone assumed that. Nobody asks. You ask what Nora had been working on. Priya finishes the cigarette before she answers. She says Nora had been pulling the transaction history on a client account. Not once. 3 times, over 5 weeks, each time going further back. She says Nora asked her once, casually, over lunch, a hypothetical question. If you found something in the reconciliation that should not be there, and you escalated it, and the escalation came back closed with no action, and then it happened again, what would you do? Priya says she told her to let it go. She says it like a confession. You ask for the name of the account. She says Kestrel Holdings. Down in the parking structure, on level 2, Nora Vance's car is still in its space. It has been there since Sunday. You know, because there is a ticket under the wiper for an expired permit, dated Monday morning, which means she never came back for it after the weekend, which means the Monday afternoon. Thorne described to you the missed calls, the 3 o'clock, all of it was not when she disappeared. She was gone before that. Thorne gave you a timeline that starts 11 hours late. You stand there in the concrete cold with the ticket in your hand, and you understand that you have been hired to catch up to a search that has a 1.5 day head start on you. Somebody else has been looking for this woman since Sunday night. Somebody who does not have to file a report on what he finds. You go to her apartment because you have to, and you know before the door opens that it will tell you nothing. It has been searched, professionally. The couch cushions have been unzipped and closed. The books have been taken off the shelves and put back with their spines a 1/2 inch too far forward. Nothing broken, nothing taken, nothing to report if a neighbor looked in. Whoever did this has done it many times. You stand in the doorway of a stranger's bedroom at 4 in the morning, and you think about the fact that she watered the plant. She did not plan to run. She was running when she left. And someone who runs without planning does not go to an airport, because airports have cameras and lines. They do not go to a hotel, because hotels take a card. They do not go to family, because family is the first door anyone knocks on. They go somewhere from before, somewhere that belongs to a version of them that the company file does not know about. The photograph taped inside the pencil drawer, a woman who looks like her, older, standing in front of a house. It takes you 2 hours and a phone call to a man who owes you one, and you find that the house in the photograph belonged to Ruth Vance, deceased 4 years. and that when it was sold, the mail was forwarded, briefly, to a second address, a unit above a laundromat, 11 miles east, in a neighborhood where the bank has no clients. The sky is going gray at the edges when you park across the street. There is a light on in the upstairs window. You go up the outside stairs slowly, and you make noise doing it, because a person who has been hunted for 2 days does not need to be surprised. You knock once. You say her name. You say you are not the man who came Sunday. The door opens 4 inches on a chain, and Nora Vance looks at you with a kitchen knife held low against her thigh, and her eyes are the eyes of someone who has not slept since Sunday, and she says, in a voice that is almost steady, that she does not believe you. You tell her she is right not to. Then you tell her something true, because it is the only currency you have left. You tell her that Gareth Thorne called you at 2 in the morning and told you she vanished at 3 o'clock Monday afternoon. And you tell her that her car has been in the garage since Sunday. You watch her understand what that means before you say it. He knew. The chain comes off. Inside, the room is one room, a mattress, a kettle, a folding chair. On the floor, spread out in an order she clearly has memorized, 40 pages of printed transaction records with lines drawn between them in blue pen. She talks for a long time, and you do not interrupt her. Kestrel Holdings is a client of Ashford Rain. Kestrel Holdings is also, on paper, 3 companies in 2 jurisdictions that exist only as addresses. Money enters through one, moves through the others in amounts calibrated to sit just below the thresholds that require a report, and leaves clean on the far side. This is not clever. She says that twice. It is not clever. It is the oldest structure there is, and it is so obvious that the only way a bank does not see it is if the bank is not looking on purpose. She escalated it in March. The file came back closed. She escalated it again in June, with more detail, and this time she copied Thorne directly. 9 days later, her access to the archive was quietly downgraded. She kept going anyway. She says that part like she is describing someone else's decision. On Sunday, she came into the building on her weekend badge to pull the last of it, and when she came out of the archive room, a man was standing at the end of the corridor, and he was not security, and he smiled at her. She went down the fire stairs. She left her car. She left her badge. She has been in this room for 38 hours, and she has not gone to a journalist, and you ask her why not, and she looks at you like you have missed the entire point. She says, because she wanted it to be fixed, not published, fixed. And then she says the sentence that stays with you. She says, I still thought somebody at that bank was on my side. There's a sound on the stairs. Not a knock. A wait, testing a step. You move her away from the door, and you turn off the lamp, and you stand in the dark of a stranger's room, listening to a man who is very good at his job decide whether to come the rest of the way up. He knows you are here. He can see that the light went out. He is doing arithmetic about how much noise this neighborhood tolerates at 5 in the morning. The weight goes back down the stairs. A car door, an engine, gone. He was never here to knock. He was here to confirm, which means somebody is going to be told in the next 10 minutes exactly where Nora Vance is sleeping. You get her into the car and you drive. You find Gareth Thorne in the parking structure at 6, standing beside his car, and when he sees you, he does not run and he does not lie. He looks at you and his face collapses into something almost grateful, because a man who has been carrying a thing alone will confess to the first person who arrives. He tells you he did not hire the other man. He tells you he found out about him on Monday. He tells you that when he understood what was happening, he called you, and he called you at 2 in the morning because it took him 11 hours to be more afraid of what was coming than of the woman who would fire him for calling anyone at all. He tells you he lied about the timeline because he could not say out loud that the bank had been looking for her for a day before it admitted she was missing. You ask him who hired the other man. He says the client did. You ask him who told the client. He does not answer, and he does not have to, because there is only one person in that building who takes a meeting on Tuesday morning that cannot be moved. The sun comes up on the boardroom glass, and Vivian Ashford does not look surprised to see you. She listens to all of it without moving. Then she talks about proportion. She talks about a 40-year institution and 1,000 clients and one account, one in an ocean of them, and how a single unproven irregularity would end all of it, and how that is not justice. That is just noise with consequences. She is composed, and she is fluent, and she has clearly rehearsed this in the dark more than once. Then she names a number. It is a large number. It is meant to be a large number. It is the sound a door makes when it closes. You let it sit there in the room and go cold. Then you tell her what is actually going to happen. The Kestrel relationship terminates today, and it is reported properly through the channel that generates a record with a date on it. Nora Vance's findings go to outside counsel and to the regulator, not to a newspaper, because she never wanted a newspaper, and because a scandal you survive is worth more to this room than one you get caught hiding. The man who has been looking for her is called off in writing this morning by whoever can call him off, and you will watch that message be sent. Nora Vance is reinstated with back pay and a written record that her escalations were correct, and nothing happens to her. Not a reassignment, not a package, nothing. Because the moment anything happens to her, 40 pages that you now have copies of stop being an internal matter. Vivian Ashford asks what you get. You tell her you keep the folder. She's quiet for a long moment. Then she says that you have made an enemy today, and she says it almost kindly, the way you would warn someone about weather. You tell her that is fine. You have a lot of them, and they all have one thing in common. They all thought they were going to be the exception. You take the stairs down. The lobby is filling with people in good coats who have no idea, and the marble throws your footsteps back at you, and outside, the rain has finally stopped. Nora Vance is in the passenger seat of your car with the folder on her lap and the sky behind her going the color of clean water. You tell her it is over. She asks if that is true, and you tell her the truth, which is that it is over for now, and that for now is the only version of over that anyone ever actually gets. She almost laughs. She takes the folder, and she gets out, and she walks up the street toward a Tuesday morning that is going to be very difficult and entirely hers. You watch her go until she turns the corner. Then the phone buzzes on the passenger seat where she was sitting. Unknown number. You look at it for 3 rings. You answer.